Backslide by Black K. Cat. Chapter 17. Atonement. Itachi straightens, expression icy, as he stares across the gap between them. The Akatsuki cloak is gone, likely surrendered for the sake of subtlety, and the nail polish is gone as well. He looks calm and entirely composed, and Kurama is willing to bet that the man didn't hear his conversation with Fuji. After all, that sort of thing is hard to keep such an even keel about. You are the bounty hunter known as the Red Maelstrom, formerly of Uzushi Ogakure, Itachi says, eyes narrowing, known for claiming the bounties of 5 S-rank missing nin. Kurama stifles a snort, because that nickname will never not be ironic. Yes, he agrees easily, twisting his fingers into Fuji's fur. Then he adds agreeably, of course, I also killed Zetsu, but I suppose one can hardly claim a bounty on a creature created by Madara, even one that's an imperfect clone of the first Hokage. The other man's entire body goes taut, as though he's been electrified, and he takes a menacing step forward. Fuji drops her head and snarls, sharp and warning, and he stops again. How do you know of that, bounty hunter? He demands. Kurama studies the former clan heir, trying to find the cracks he knows are there. Every part of Kurama's plan has driven the man into a corner. The deaths of the Akatsuki members one by one, the disappearance of Konan and Nagato, the sudden frenzied destruction of Tobi, and his lack of orders. Akatsuki has completely fallen apart, and with it have gone most of Itachi's own plans, the little stability left in his life after fleeing Konoha. Everything has shattered around him, leaving him flailing for a reason, a path, and somehow Kurama can't find it in himself to be sympathetic. He's always considered Itachi a great man, but he's not a good one. And as much as Sasuke always worshipped him, mourned him, Kurama has never truly been able to bring himself to do the same. Itachi participated in the murder of his entire clan, and even if he was backed into a corner and given no choice, commanded by the very village he served to do such a thing, Kurama has always felt that there are limits to what a good man can force himself to do. And while he can never put himself entirely in Itachi's shoes, he knows himself well enough to understand that he would have found another way had it been him. He wouldn't have done it. He'd have made a different choice, taken another path, and perhaps as cruel and selfish, but he can't respect Itachi for not doing the same. I know a lot of things, Uchiha, he says at length, including who else was there the night you murdered your clan and on whose orders it was. I also know your brother, and what you planned on making him do. There's rage creeping into that icy gaze, fury, and something very close to panic. You think it will fix anything at all, atoning like this? Kurama demands, and he's learned over the years not to lose his temper, to keep himself contained. But regardless of how fair it is that he's always at least partially blamed Itachi for what Sasuke did, what he became in those years after he left Konoha. His composure is slipping through his fingers, sliding away from him, but he doesn't bother reaching for it again. Not now. You practically destroyed him, trying to make him stronger, and he loved you. He still loves you, even if he'll never admit it. It's taken so long to even begin to put the pieces back together. I won't let you break him again, Uchiha. Red black eyes narrow, shoulders stiffen. Then this time, even Fuji's snarl doesn't deter Itachi as he takes 3 looming, deliberate steps forward. Sasuke has nothing to do with me, he says, and there's a level of acid beneath the ice in his voice. You will not touch him. Kurama resists the urge to draw his sword, and instead loosens his grip on Fuji's ruff. She doesn't tense, gives no sign, but Kurama has fought with her long enough to know that she understands regardless. That's where you're wrong, Uchiha, he counters. Sasuke is on a Genin team with my cousin. They're friends, and the 3 of them together are finding their reasons to be strong. He smiles, faint and mocking, and says, Did you know that they're going to be the next Sannin? Orochimaru. Itachi hisses just the faintest thread of sound. He shifts back as though to run and find the snake right this moment. No. Kurama cuts him off before he can even move, entirely amused. He chuckles, remembering that morning at their camp, 3 small children with the resolve of those 5 times their age, and the strength and determination to make it come true. Though that would be Naruto's role, I believe, as ninjutsu expert. Sasuke has been collecting taijutsu-style ideas. I assume he plans to emulate Jiraiya. Were the atmosphere any less tense, Kurama would laugh at the strange pained twitch that crosses Itachi's face. As it is, he simply smiles at the man, and even he can tell that it's more a baring of teeth than any expression of amusement. "They're progressing," he says sharply. "They're going to become something great, the three of them together. And I won't let you ruin that, Itachi, not for the sake of your guilt and what you think you need to atone for. More than revenge, more than vengeance or strength, Sasuke needs his brother. I can be a friend and ally, but not blood. You'll have to do that." He lifts his hand completely, and Fuji blurs forward almost too fast to see. Itachi catches it, tries to leap back and away, but for all the Sharingan's prediction power, it has no effect on the reflexes, and Fuji is a fox summons, a creature of fire and wind and speed. She slams into him, bears him to the ground, and half a second later, Kurama joins her, pinning Itachi down bodily with his naked sword pressed against the man's jugular. "One last warning," Kurama says softly, knees trapping Itachi's hands and gaze fixed just below his eyes. It's hard to make a firm point without eye contact, but he's not willing to give the man even 3 seconds of his will. Or 72 hours, depending on one's perception. "You're a genius, I know. So find another way. Madara will be dealt with in less than a year. Akatsuki is gone. I've upset his plans and stalled him at every possible turn. I'll even break his hold over Kirigakure soon enough. So look at what you have right now, Uchiha. Look at what you had in the past. Look at what you want from the future. And make your choice." He rises to his feet and steps away, sliding Ginkaze back into its sheath with a soft hiss. Fuji remains where she is, crouched and growling, so Kurama feels safe about turning his back and heading back towards the town. "Wait." Kurama pauses beside a tree, lightly resting a hand on the gnarled bark. "Yes?" he asks politely. 5 bounties, 1 death, Itachi says, and Kurama can hear him pushing to his feet. "There were 10 members." Kurama looks up to where the sun is cresting the sky. It's brilliantly blue, the color of his counterpart's eyes when he's laughing, when he and Sasuke stagger in from training, bruised and breathless, but entirely satisfied. 5 bounties, 1 death, 1 plan that will not fail, and 2 in hiding no longer a threat. Nagato was never a villain, Uchiha, much like you, and Konan simply followed him. The Rinnegan eyes are gone, and soon Madara will be no more than a bad memory. You don't have much time, if that cough of yours is as bad as I think it is, so don't hesitate. Fuji, let's go. Fur brushes against his leg as the fox slides under his hand, tails flicking warily, and Kurama spares one last glance over his shoulder as he leaves. Itachi stands frozen amongst the trees, gaze fixed on him but distant, no longer a threat, and Kurama nods in satisfaction. He cards his fingers through Fuji's fur and walks away. He's made his point. The rest is up to Itachi now, and entirely out of his hands. Itachi has been hearing rumors for months, almost a full year, that whisper of Uzishio's red maelstrom, his strength, his viciousness, his cunning, the bounties he has claimed, and his status as one of the last remaining nin to wear an Uzushio Gakure Hidayate. But he's wearing Kanoha's mark now, and Itachi can see nothing vicious about him. He could have claimed another bounty, larger than most, when he had held his blade at Itachi's throat. But he hadn't. He had pulled away, stepped back with only a spoken warning, and even turned his back. The summons assistance or not, it was a bold and reckless thing to do. Almost stupid, especially when facing an Uchiha. But he'd done it nevertheless. Cunning he is, most certainly. Itachi swallows, leaning back against the tree behind him and closing his eyes. Uzumaki knows about Madara, about everything, and Itachi has to wonder how such a thing is possible. No one outside of Itachi and Madara himself, and even that is mostly guesswork, the assumption that the one posing as Toby is speaking the truth where his identity is concerned. But Sasuke, Itachi thinks, hands clenching until his nails cut into his palms. Sasuke. Uzumaki said that they're going to be the next Sannin, but that Sasuke has not taken the role of the power-obsessed traitor. He isn't thinking of revenge, or if he is, it isn't foremost in his thoughts. He has a team, and a goal beyond Itachi's death, and Itachi can't decide if he is relieved or horrified. So much planning has gone into his death, this one last act for the sake of his little brother. Itachi has devoted himself to it for 5 years, almost 6, and now it's gone, vanished in the face of 2 other children, and a shared dream. What should he do now, then, that his own goals have been shattered so irrevocably? For one mad moment, He considers ignoring the bounty hunter's threat, going after Sasuke right this moment. Surely Sasuke has not entirely given up on revenge. Surely it can still work, and if not, Itachi can remind him. A genjutsu, a memory of that night. 3 seconds in Tsukiyomi, and Sasuke will want nothing more than his death. And should that fail to be enough, Sasuke has opened his heart. They're only children, easy targets, and... No, Itachi thinks, pressing his hand over his eyes as horror races through him. No more. He's murdered children already, knows just how simple it is to steal such new and fragile life, and he can't do it again. Not if he wants to stay sane. Bad enough when Akatsuki were making plans to learn that at least 3 of the Jinchuriki were children, 2 of them young enough to be nearly Sasuke's age, and 1 not much older. Itachi's sanity can't bear the thought of more deaths just in the name of his own. Not now. Maybe with time he'll have the necessary resolve, but Uzumaki has shaken him. Madara will be dealt with in less than a year. Akatsuki is gone. I've upset his plans and stalled him at every possible turn. I'll even break his hold over Kirigakure soon enough. Itachi wants to call it the worst kind of hubris, those words. Bravado and boasting without any sort of substance behind it. But he can't. Even if the bounty hunter never met his gaze, Itachi looked in ocean blue eyes and saw the resolve there, the burning certainty in his very soul. Uzumaki Kurama is a man to be feared, a man with a heart full of conviction and a willingness to go to any lengths in the name of protecting those close to him. Somehow, Sasuke has been included in that number, fallen under Uzumaki's regard and out of Itachi's reach. Suddenly, the desire to see his little brother grips Itachi, wrenches him like an open wound, and he's moving before he even considers it, before he remembers that Sasuke is traveling with the copy named Kakashi and the Red Maelstrom, who has already seen him, and that Uzumaki has yet to dismiss his summons, who doubtless has sharp senses. But they're weak objections in the face of his sudden need, this unexpected weakness. He moves swiftly and silently through the trees, flying across the branches toward the chakra signals on the road. 4 of them, with 2 more joining, and Itachi slows as he approaches, taking extra care to remain unheard. There's a break in the trees, just enough to see through, and he hides himself among the leaves and looks out. Uzumaki is laughing as the 3 Genin surround him and the fox summons. The pink-haired girl, as bright-faced and clearly besotted, and the blonde boy, the Jinchuriki Naruto and the bounty hunter's cousin, is all but bouncing, dividing his attention between the white fox and the red-haired man, mouth moving in a constant stream of questions. Kakashi is standing beside Uzumaki, leaning casually over his shoulder to see the creature, who's clearly breathing under so much attention, his eye crinkled in a smile that Itachi can tell is genuine even from this current distance, and he's just a little bit closer to Uzumaki than is entirely appropriate for friends. Kakashi's hair is also bright, brilliant pink, and glittering. Itachi blinks slowly, deliberately, and then forcibly ignores it. This, at least, is something he's probably better off not understanding. It's Sasuke he looks to last, and takes a moment to spot him because every other time Itachi has seen him since that night he's held himself apart, aloof and curt and cold, entirely derisive of everyone. But now he's on his knees beside the fox, one hand rubbing between her ears, and he's speaking to his female teammate without any sort of contempt in his expression. Even when Naruto balances close and nearly knocks him over, the only reaction is a roll of the dark eyes, and a faint true smile as he makes some sort of retort. The blonde parries cheerfully, grinning widely, and the Kunoichi giggles, and they all smile at each other for a moment, united. It's staggering. 4 months since Itachi saw his little brother last, and in that time he's returned to being the child that Itachi knew, that he carried on his back and tucked in at night and promised to train with, even if he could only rarely keep his word. Perhaps not entirely, and perhaps Sasuke will never again fully be that innocent and kind boy, but this is enough. Itachi sinks back against the bole of the tree, drawing in a shaky breath, and unconsciously runs a hand over his hair to smooth it down. Sasuke is smiling, and has made friends, and has a dream now, a reason for strength beyond revenge. Seeing him, watching him, there's no possible way that Itachi can take that away from him, regardless of future plans and eternal Mangenkyo and the threat of Madara. Already Itachi has taken away his family and his innocence, all but his entire childhood. He won't take this. won't take them away from Sasuke too. Itachi draws in a deep breath and stands, looking after the retreating team as they take to the trees beside the road. He considers the path before him, remembering Uzumaki's words once more. Look at what you have right now, Uchiha. Look at what you had in the past. Look at what you want from the future. And make your choice. Itachi takes a breath. Another. A third. And each one feels like courage, like fear overcome and fortune decided. He looks at the sky, the sun so high and bright, a raven circling in the distance, and makes his choice. Perhaps it's time the Hokage hears of his suspicions, of Madara's possible return. Perhaps something can be done so that he can finally go home. They make it back to the village by nightfall, the three getting all but asleep on their feet. Kurama looks them over, something soft and fond and gentle in his chest, and suggests, Sakura, do you want to stay in our apartment tonight? It's near here and I can send a message to your parents. Sakura covers a yawn that almost splits her face, staggering a little with tiredness, and nods sleepily. Thank you, Kurama-san, she says gratefully. There's no question that Sasuke will be spending the night. He and Naruto are leaning on each other, though not blatantly, as they stagger down the street. Kakashi, newly bright-haired and sparkly, which is astonishingly brilliant and ridiculous, and Kurama adores the three little monsters for doing it, is shepherding them around turns, looking entirely too amused, and he arches a brow at the redhead as he and Sakura catch up. Kurama? He starts about threatening. Kurama stares at the other Jonin for a long moment, then rolls his eyes. Sakura's taking the couch, he points out, though he's not really hopeful that such a thing will be any sort of deterrent to a determined Kapitan. And indeed, all it gets him is a blinding smile. That's alright, Kakashi says cheerfully. I'm sure your bed can fit too if we squish. It takes very, very much effort not to drag his hands over his face and mutter oaths. Instead, he levels a flat look at the other man. Squish. Cuddle, spoon, snuggle, huddle, nestle together, hug, share space. Oh, do Kami, stop, please, coming up with synonyms. This time, Kurama gives in, pressing a hand over his face and sighing heavily. You enjoy torturing me, he accuses without lifting his head. You know what? Fine. Just keep your hands to yourself or I'll pin them to the wall with kunai. Kakashi tries the pout again. It doesn't work any better this time. You say that like I haven't pure intentions, Kurama. That wounds me. I'll wound you, Kurama mutters, but it's half-hearted at best. The idea of sharing a bed, even innocently with someone else, is appealing. He hasn't done so in a very long time. Even with his Sasuke, they were always on the move, on the run, and since Kurama needed far less sleep, and Sasuke was often frighteningly ill, Kurama spent most rest periods wide awake and on alert. The thought of having another body next to him, warm and peaceful and comforting, is good. That it's Kakashi, that they might have something, is even better. Soft Fur brushes his leg, Fuji nosing her way underneath his hand again, and when he looks down, the fox offers him a toothy grin. Her dark eye is mischievous. Should I let Sakura-chan's parents know? She asks, and he's known her long enough to read the teasing she's not giving him in that look. With a sigh and a half-hearted slap over ears, he nods his agreement. Thank you, Fuji. Would you like to stay or go back? Fuji tips her head, considering, and then huffs with resignation. I'll dismiss myself when I'm done. She says, there's news I need to share with the others. You'll stay out of trouble, Kurama? Don't I always? She barks out a high yipping laugh and swats him with her tails. We're your summons for a reason, she reminds him slyly, then bounds away, her brilliantly white form disappearing into the distance. Kurama watches her go, feeling fond and unspeakably glad that she remembers that they all will. The dimension where summons live exists outside of this time and space, and because they're bound to him in blood and chakra, they remember what used to be, what now will never be. It's possible the Toads will as well, though Kurama thinks they won't. That tie is old, after all, and had been dissolved long before he and Sasuke started the time reversal seal. I've never met anyone with fox summons before, Kakashi says almost idly. He's got his nose buried in his book, and Kurama just rolls his eyes tolerantly as he turns the Ganin towards his building and herds them up the stairs. And they shoot me, I think, he says simply, and Kakashi offers no response. Still, Kurama can feel that sharp gaze on him, considering. He wonders if Kakashi, genius that he is, will ever be able to find all the pieces and assemble them, be able to pick out all the facts among the half-truths, and what he'll say if he does. Wonders if he'll say anything at all. Because Kakashi, of all people, understands desperate measures and suicidal plans that have only the slightest chance of working. The apartment is warm and quiet as Kurama turns on lights and pulls out bedding. Sakura is already sprawled out on the couch by the time he gets back, but she's not alone. Naruto is curled up at her feet, and Sasuke is mashed in between them, bare feet tucked under her knees and head resting on Naruto's hip. Kakashi is standing over them, staring down in clear, affectionate amusement, and there's something wistful in his eye. "They're a good team," he says, and his voice is startlingly hoarse. "I didn't expect them to be." "I don't think anyone did," Kurama answers honestly, remembering his own fractured guillotine and the absolute lack of surprise in the face of it. He steps forward, around Kakashi, and spreads the gathered blankets over the three genin, careful to make sure that none of them are uncovered. They don't even twitch, and though Kurama knows they'll likely be sore and a little cranky tomorrow morning, for now they're peaceful and at ease. "You did." It takes a moment to remember what they're talking about, and when he does, Kurama bites his lip, wondering how much to say. "I understand what it's like for a team to have potential," he offers at length, and feels his heart clench a little. It hurts sometimes, looking at these three and seeing what his team could have been with the right push. And for that potential to be overlooked. If they did have potential, I didn't want it to be wasted. He looks up and meets Kakashi's gaze, helpless to explain, because he hasn't known that this would happen with just a little care, a little nudge to each of them. Hadn't expected it for all that it now means to him. That they now mean to him, or mean to him again. They're going to be great someday, Kakashi. They're going to be the best. They want it so much more than most shinobi do, and they can. Why not give them the means to do it? There's no response, but Kakashi reaches out and takes his hand, pulls him away and down the hall, right into the bedroom. He wraps his arms around Kurama, strong and immovable and irresistible, and topples him onto the mattress, curling up around the redhead. Kurama doesn't fight it, can't. Lays his arms over Kakashi's and presses back as the taller man pulls him closer. It's the closest he's been to anyone but Naruto since his return. Since that last kiss with Sasuke beneath the stars, and something in him aches as it releases, a long coil of tension unwinding from his spine and leaving him boneless and all but shaking. Kakashi says nothing, curls his body around him and kisses the back of his neck softly, sweetly, and Kurama closes his eyes and lets the warm darkness close in around them both.